Now, let's talk about change orders. And why are we going to talk about that? Well, they're inevitable in construction. They happen all the time. You have positive change orders, you have deductive change orders. I've done entire videos on change orders that we need to look at. If you want to know all about them, you can find them here in the same feed on our YouTube channel. But what I'm talking specifically about today is change orders as it relates to your contract, and change orders as it relates to your contract and how that impacts your cash flow of the project. So we just spent a few minutes talking about project cash flow, how the contract impacts that, the terms in your contract impact that. Now let's talk about the contract terms associated to change orders. Key important thing here. A change order, by definition, is any change in the scope of work, positively or negatively. That could be different materials, it could be an owner-directed change order, it could be material, time, labor, etc. There's many different ones. But at the end of the day, all of these different change orders are going to impact your cash flow on the project. Right out of the gate, very rarely does any change order not increase the cost of the project to you, the subcontractor. Let's assume that's the case here. Any change order that's going to be, or any change of work that you need to do that's not budgeted for or accounted for, is going to increase your cost. Depending on what the terms of the change orders are that you've negotiated in your contract, if you've negotiated them in your contract, you're going to have immediate cost outlays in either material or labor that you have to account for and pay for. If you have not put in your contract exactly how you're going to invoice, when you're going to invoice, and the terms in which you need to be paid for change orders in your master contract before you started the work, you're already behind the eight ball. You're at a disadvantage. And you've also added more risk to yourself on this project because work needs to be done. And most subcontracts have a clause in there that you can't walk off the project. If you walk off the project, you're putting yourself even at more risk. So you don't have the ability to walk off the project, not that you want to, but if you also have to do more work, but you have no way of invoicing for that work or no other way to go back to that contract to say, here's my change order, here's how I'm going to invoice for it, here's my rates, etc. You have to sort of make that up as you go, which also means you have to negotiate that on the fly, which means you're negotiating that from a position that's not as strong as it could be. So you're negotiating candidly from a position of weakness and not strength. Why is that important? Well, at the beginning of the job, in the contract, you're awarded the job. Put in there a contract clause. It just shows how you're going to invoice for change orders. Put what your rate you're going to invoice at. Those are all good things. What general contractor or owner wouldn't want to know what rate you're going to charge for a change order? If it's time and material, what's your markup going to be on the material? If it's labor, what's your labor rate? How are you going to count the hours? What's the charge for those things? By square foot? It all depends on what your scope of work is, but you know how to account for a change order rates. Put it in your contract up front and then you can stick to it. It's one less thing you need to negotiate. It's hard enough to stick to the facts of, is this a change order or is this not a change order when you're on the fly in the middle of a project. The last thing you need to do is negotiate that and then negotiate what the rate is going to be. Get the pieces of the equation out early in the contract language so you don't have to negotiate rate or terms, just whether or not it's a change order. So that will help you significantly and help you de-risk your project and also help you perform better, keep a customer relationship better, and make everyone happy.